Hey everybody, my name is Jay Martin. Thanks for watching. This is a 3v3 game on grassy flatlands. And the people playing over here on the right side, this is SK Marsh. In the middle, that's me, I'm Prussia. And on the left is a friend of SK's called L. Kuit. And that's our team. Sorry. Let me do some better camera work for you there. There we go. Now, playing opposite us, everybody's Prussia. Over on this side from LCR clan is Dollar de Ormeux. In the middle is LCR Montcalm. I'm guessing these guys are French. Their names are really French, and that's my attempt at a little French accent there. And then over on the left side is a dude named Bass Guitar 2345. And we get things going, and we're just running up the map. There are two concepts I wanted to try to hit you with in this video, or two ideas that occurred to me. And both of these are probably better expressed as a 2v2 game, but I had this game in my replay folder, and it sort of fit the concepts. So I'm using that instead of a 2v2 game. But the two things I want to talk about were, first of all, when you're playing a team game and you're losing, and like your army's going to get destroyed, about maximizing, you can still help your team, and then even when you're losing, being able to recognize when you're losing, and then when you figured out that you're losing, find ways to still maximize the help that you can give the rest of your team. And that'll come in later in the game, obviously. And then the second concept I want to try to hit you with is the idea of, and I'm not really sure what the right term for this is, but army positioning in a team game. And the idea is that it's helpful if you can keep your opponents separated from each other. When you and your partners are close and you're right next to each other, that gives you a lot more options, and you can like team up on somebody, etc. But say that you get pushed away from your teammates, that's a problem for you. And both of these things happen in this game, and I'm going to try to point those out when they do happen. Starting with the action over here on the left, we're just having a little light infantry skirmish, and these Volts are kind of taking on these Prussian Fusiliers. This isn't a great idea because the Prussian light infantry is a lot better than the French light infantry. So if you're the French player, just running your lights up to just have a naked shootout with Prussian lights is not a good idea. You got to do something a little more substantial, or over time, if this, if the status quo continues here, eventually the French players can have a lot of problems. And that's something to keep in mind if you're playing as France. The strength of France is their line infantry and their cav. Their lights are actually kind of weak, so you don't want to get caught in this kind of naked shootout with Prussian light infantry. Over on my side in the middle, I'm engaging all across the line, and my opponent has done something kind of weird. I'm going to slow down to play to show you this. What he's done is he's put his light infantry in line. You can tell, see that little icon there, that's a line infantry, and this guy with the gun, that's a light infantry. He's put his lights just straight up in line with his line. And that's a bad idea, because what it lets me do is it lets me rush Cav straight at his lights, and his lights don't have any protection. Okay, and I'm doing this everywhere. Like I'm sending a Cav unit into every one of his lights, and there's no line back there to protect them. What this forces him to do, well, it means that my Cav get really good hits on his lights, okay, like I've routed the first one. The second thing it forces him to do is it forces him to run his Cav up to take out my Cav. Now, that's not an ideal use of Cav. You don't really want to use your Cav to be attacking the opponent's Cav. You want your Cav to be attacking the opponent's infantry. Now, he does actually do pretty well. Like, my Cav charges here on his lights are not terribly effective. I get one or two of them dead, I think. I mean, in the fallout, I do cause a lot of damage and disorganize his line a little bit. But, the two concepts are you want to make sure that your lights have protection with line behind them. And you don't want to use your Cav to attack the enemy's Cav. Now, my opponent, the LCR guy, did pretty good. I mean, he got his Cav followed through, and I think he fucked me up. I don't think I formed a square there, but I think he got two of my lights. I think they're going to come back from routing, but in the short term, the action I had against this guy sort of turned out to be a wash, but the difference is that on the left over here, I'm going to wind up with a pretty big advantage because I'll have 4 of my units shooting at 2 of his. And over here on the right, kind of the same thing happened. So you want to be careful how you position your light infantry and make sure you have line behind them. Yeah, and then over on SK's flank, SK is kind of he's facing the same problem, or his opponent is doing the same thing. He had his lights in line there, and SK is being really aggressive, and he's just getting all his line up in there to fight this guy, is what's going on. We are having some problems over here on the left. Predictably, El Kut is losing the light infantry fight, and he should probably be being a little more aggressive, getting his line units up there to attack those lights there. We got to do something. We got to do something on that flank, and we're not quite doing it in this case. And my particular area of the battle, kind of what I thought would happen happens. This is, man, I sucked. I think I missed another square there. One thing to keep in mind when you're playing a 3v3 is you kind of got to keep your eye on your flank, because this is a cav unit that came, from this opponent here, and I just wasn't paying attention to him. But the big picture of what happened in my game is that that early cav work did get me an advantage in the infantry game, and I'm able to, I'm kind of reaping the rewards of that now, and I'm sort of out shooting this guy. I really could go for another cav unit about this point in the battle. I think I have 1 left that I'm going to try to put into work. But the center in my game is pretty static. It's just a shootout, and I think my guy at this point realizes that he's losing, and he starts to pull back, which is probably the right thing to do. SK is being a bit more successful because he's got a pretty even fight all across his line, and he's pushing reserves. He's got a bunch of old guard he had in reserve, and he's pushing those over to the right side. And these 3 guys showing up here should be able to do a pretty good number on the right flank of Dullard over there. And that's what's going on our end. Again, my opponent is pulling back to form a line here. Now, I am made what's arguably a bad decision. So what I can do is I can either push my army over and we can envelop the combination of these 2 players, or I can up the French guy. But there is something that I want to mention here. One of the concepts, and it's hard to keep track because everybody's fucking Prussian, but like this little group of units is me, okay, and the other Prussians are all the enemy, is when you're playing a team game, you want to keep your armies together. Now, this player did the right thing by pulling back to form up with his partner, and I guess this is a 3v3, so he didn't have a lot of option. If their center gets ruptured, he has to move one way or the other. But when you're playing a team game, if you're playing a 2v2, you want to be kind of next to your partner. You want to be close to them. And by pulling back this direction, the central player kind of left the left side player out in his own. Now that's kind of okay, because the left side player frankly is doing quite well. But if this were a 2v2 game, you want to retreat towards your partner. Okay, that's a good idea. If you retreat towards your partner, it gives you some more options, and it helps you support each other, yada yada yada. Now what I decided to do is I decided to send the bulk of my army to chase my retreating opponent, and I send 2 units over to help our left side partner over here. This is kind of what happens. So again, the concept is whenever you have the option, you want to retreat towards your teammate and to form up a line with them is what you want to do. So retreat towards your teammate. That gives you some better options. SK actually is having problems in the center over here. This Prussian player is doing a pretty good job on him, but what the ace in the hole is SK had these old guard units over here on the right, and you can see they just redded the first unit, and these old guard are gonna crunch up and these units pretty good. I mean, when old guard run into units that are a little depleted already, and if you can hold those units as a reserve, you're going to be doing pretty good. And that's what's going in. And unfortunately, those old guard are pretty much all SK has left. And this is the rest of my army that we fought down over here. I thought these 2 LCR guys did a really good job. They certainly got us on kind of an attrition game, and it took pretty much everything we had to kill them. Over on the left side, our partner is lost in the center and the left, and this is an important part of the battle. So time out. An important aspect of being a good teammate is that even when you lose, you need to find ways to maximize the value that you can get your teammates. And in this instance, because we've lost here and the Prussian player is going to envelop, what Elkut over here, the French player, should have done is we should have pulled back and formed a new line here with everything that we had. And I think in this game we try to do that, and you can maybe watch the big picture perspective, but we don't really do it fast enough. Like he's pulling back this unit here, and really we should be reforming a new line back here. But unfortunately, the LK unit, like this Cav unit, man, if we could have pulled this unit back, that would have been really valuable in the future. I think this Cav unit's going to route right here, and instead Elkut is just running these 3 line units up, to no real profit. I think it would have been better for our team if we could have pulled everybody back and reformed a line here. And an important concept in group games is the concept of time. If we could have just retreated with these 3 units here, that would have bought us time, and that would have bought us time to finish off this player here, and then we could have reformed with everybody we had. But you can see that the first unit here is already routed. These units aren't going to last too much longer, and I think it would have been much better for our team as a whole. Yeah, there goes the next one. If we just would have retreated, form a new line right about there, and you can see that we've just about killed. There we go. We got that guy in. And while we would have been retreating, all of these units that are on our team, we could have reformed into a new line, and instead, there goes another unit, and we're going to come out of this phase 1 of the battle with, there goes another unit, with about 4 or 5 less units than we would have had otherwise. And these are my 2 guys here, and about this time I realized it's time to get out of Dodge, and I don't think that we played terribly good as a team here. We should have got our French player to withdraw back, to form this line with us, and we didn't do that. Now this player, bass guitar over here, he did a really great job on his flank and wiped out our left side player pretty convincingly. I mean, he's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. He's got about 13 or 14 units left. That's a beating. That's nice work there. And so what we're left with is the remnants of my army and the remnants of SK's army. And SK's France. I think he's got these 3 old guard left, and then I've got whoever I've got left. And unfortunately, we're outnumbered right here. This guy outnumbers us, and I'll kind of let you watch, just what happens. And this dude moves up and engages us. I guess this is kind of close to a fair fight. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Well, he outnumbers us a bit. He outnumbers us a bit at this point. But I think you have a bit of an advantage because this is all controlled by one player. This is going to be a bit more coordinated. We had a little bit of trouble optimizing. This is the last, this old guard here is on the left is the last unit left over from Elkut, and we had a bit of a trouble getting him to coordinate with us and moving that unit into an ideal firing position. I think that's my general desperation charge there. But at this form in the battle, this team arguably has an advantage because they outnumber us a little bit, and because it's controlled by one player, it's a bit more coordinated. So we're going to, do our best to get in there. But imagine I want you to just sit back for a second and imagine if we still had those 5 French units over there that we kind of wasted for no profit. If we would have had those, then we would have a pretty overwhelming advantage right here. But, obviously we don't. And, excuse me. And anyway, this is sort of what happens from this point on, as we run in there, and I think we take the first shot, and everybody's real low on ammo. I think my light infantry have maybe ran out of ammo at this point, which, man, that really slows you down, and I think that's my general dying. I was using it a little too aggressively. Yeah, that's my general. I was using that to cav charge people, and it's just a bar fight at this point. I always think to myself, man, wouldn't it be nice if everybody had just like another couple rounds of ammo at this point in the game. You run out of ammo, and that really limits your options. It really limits your options. And the solution then is just a big melee charge. So that's pretty much all you can do. It's pretty much all you can do. And these units have come back from routing. That's our opponent's units. If he could have got those in there, he would have had a bit more of an advantage. But I think he comes out of this, and it's just these two old guard left, and these are all our opponents. This Prussian is all the opponent, and he's going to wind up winning. Obviously, from this point, it's about 5-1, and all of our generals are dead. So, well, pretty much dead. But anyway, that was a game we played, and the two big concepts are there. You got to maximize. You got to maximize your value for your team, even if you're losing. You got to try to, either buy your team time to get into a better position, or you got to get into a better position. Even if you're losing, you can still optimize, how you use your army, and just don't give up. I mean, even if you have one little unit left, that unit can be valuable. And the second thing is you want to try to stay close to your teammates. That way you can support each other. If you get isolated, then you can get enveloped and killed. But if you can get together with your teammate and extend their line a little bit or get in line with them, then you can be a lot more productive. So anyway, thanks for watching again. Get out there and have some good games, and I'll see you in the next video.